Hello and welcome back. Today I want to delve into the topic of being overwhelmed. This is going to be a rather short video, but I want to talk a little bit about what we can do to better handle when we're feeling overwhelmed. Because for me lately, it's been sort of feeling that way. What I tend to do is I plan a lot of things, make a lot of lists, make a lot of, to-do lists, plans, things like that. But in reality, the more I plan, the less I actually end up doing. Because every time I look at the list, it just seems to grow and grow, and I never seem to check anything off it. Another part that may play into that is the fact that I don't like a messy list, so once I've checked off a few things, I'll rewrite it. So it seems like I haven't done much, but I've been kind of struggling with that over this past month. So I wanted to sort of go over a couple of things that I've found that have been really helpful for me. So maybe that'll be helpful for you too as well. The first one is to do a brain dump. This is my personal favorite. I've used it off and on since I sometimes tend to forget about it a little bit, but I've been putting it more into practice lately. And basically the idea is you just sit down and you write. It's not necessarily a to-do list or things that you have to do or appointments. It can include those, but it's basically everything that's in your mind that's bothering you, that's concerning you, that's making you sad or happy or any of that. You just write it out. Just write it out until you can't write anything more. You'll sort of know once you get to the end of it by virtue of both you kind of slow down. There's not as much to say, but also there is sort of this feeling of relief. And the idea behind the brain dump is not to, then take it and create a to-do list for. It's more like clearing the tabs in your mind. There's a lot of things that we have to think about, that we have to hold concurrently in our minds, things that we have to do, things that we want to do, work, school, family, obligations, everything like that. And every once in a while, it's just good to just sort of word vomit it on a page. And then you can do with it whatever you like. You can put it to the side. You can actually read it again, maybe give it a couple of days though beforehand. And sometimes you can make a plan of it, but most of the time it's about getting it out. All of a sudden, there's less pressure inside about keeping it all in the mind. And then it's sort of easier to return to your regular to-do list or things that you like to do because you yourself is calmer. So you can approach it in a better way than if, you're being completely overwhelmed, because then everything just seems crazy. One of the other things that I really like to do is change the environment. Now, sometimes it can be as simple as just moving your body. Maybe you're jumping in place, maybe you're doing jumping jacks or push-ups, or maybe you run in place. This can be good if you're not really able to go anywhere, whether it be, at work or at home or, something like that. But my favorite way for this is to actually just go out in nature. Like take a walk around, ideally with actual nature, not just in sort of the concrete jungle. But depending on where you live, go with what you have. Go with what makes you feel good. But for me, it's usually in nature. And it's just, you're not listening to music, you're not listening to podcasts, you're not on phone call or anything like that. It's just you and nature. And you just walk. And it doesn't even have to be a long walk, maybe 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. But the effect of changing your environment from where you're feeling stressed to somewhere where you're not can also just help calm what you're feeling inside in the moment. And I think that's really important, sort of stepping out of what's stressing or overwhelming, and then sort of getting perspective and then stepping into it. Now, for some people, going out in nature may not be possible depending on where you live. Maybe even, jumping up and down or doing some jumping jacks may not feel, really good. But even if you're like in the office, for example, and you need to get away from that, cubicle or that section or whatever, go to the bathroom. It doesn't have to be a drastic change. Just remove yourself from the section that you're in and go into a different section. Just that can sort of reset what you're feeling in the moment and also allow you a bit of space just to sort of calm yourself down. The next thing is talk to yourself like you would to your friend. This is one that I'm guilty of not doing. I tend, and I think most of us do, sort of more towards self-criticism. You know, I need to do this, I can do better. When in reality, if I think about it, if a friend was in the same situation or a similar situation, would I ever tell them, do better, you can do this, you know, push them when they're at a breaking point for something? No, I would never do that. I would tell them to take a step back, calm down, put that project or that goal or whatever it is, you know, to the side a little bit. Take a little break, maybe watch a movie, take a walk, put it off till the weekend, you know, depending on what the situation is. But the point is, I would never tell them, well, it sucks to be you, just keep going, you can do better. Like, that's ridiculous. But why am I okay with telling myself that if I'm not okay with telling my friend that? I want to sort of step outside of myself a little bit and talk to myself as if I was talking to a friend, to sort of ease up in that moment. Because nothing is worse than just pushing through when you're at a breaking point. Everyone needs to break, no matter what you're doing, no matter what your goal is, or project, or work, or family, or any of the obligations. Everyone needs a break. And you need to be able to step away and have that support, even from yourself, to do that. One other thing that I like to do is break things into tiny steps. I have a tendency to, you know, write a book, finish the essay, you know, do the presentation at work or, you know, back in school and stuff. But those are very big, sort of nebulous concepts. How do I write a book? How do I finish the presentations? I may know those steps, but in that moment, it just seems so big and so sort of unattainable. And so if I'm feeling overwhelmed, it helps to break it down into steps. And when you break it down into steps, break it down even further. Become almost silly about it. Like for a presentation, don't just, you know, do a presentation, and don't just say also, you know, do research or, you know, write about this or whatever. Go minute. Like, open the presentation, navigate to slide 1, write the title, literally baby steps. The idea of this is basically just to create momentum. The idea itself is large and overwhelming. So if you step away and take almost silly steps, turn on the computer, open up the folder, open up the presentation, like it's creating that momentum. And then before you know it, you're sort of into the flow of things and you're starting to write or you're starting to create or, you know, whatever it is that you're doing. So another sort of final idea that I want to mention is, in a situation, ask yourself, is this yours to carry? A lot of people, in particular women, tend to sort of take everything onto ourselves. You know, we take the emotional labor, we're dealing with our work, family, in some cases children, partners, friends, other family obligations, maybe our health as well. Like there's a lot of things that are sort of dumped on our shoulders. And on one hand, it can feel nice, you know, if you're sort of the person that everyone turns to when they're having a hard time. But then you have to realize, who do you then turn to when you're having a hard time? There has to be someone. You can't be everything to everyone all the time. It's impossible. And so sometimes you need to step away. Sometimes this is a boundary issue, and that's sort of a separate kind of a topic. But sometimes just ask for help. Just say, no, I can't do it. I'm not doing it. Don't volunteer for that bake sale. Or if you did, pull your name out of it. Don't say you can pick up the kids when you don't have time. Don't say that you'll come over and talk with your friend who's just going through a breakup for 5 hours when you have a big presentation due at work the next day. Like, there has to be a balance. I mean, I'm not saying be a jerk to your friends and drop them because you have other things to do, but there has to be a balance. You can't give up everything all the time from yourself and for yourself for other people. All you'll end up being is a husk of yourself. And that helps no one, including yourself. And so a final little sort of bonus thing. Sometimes you can't step away. Sometimes you can't write things down. Sometimes you can't verbalize it to someone what's happening. In that moment, just do a simple breathing exercise. You know, inhale for 4 counts. Just count to 4. And then hold it for 4 counts. And then exhale for 4 counts. There's something about this sort of basic movement and the counting of it that sort of resets the nervous system somehow. And don't do it just once. For me, I think I need to do it at least 3 times just to sort of center yourself in that moment, to allow most of the overwhelm to sort of slip away. If you can't do any of the other ones, at least give the breathing one a try. But hopefully you find these tips helpful. But yeah, give them a try when you're feeling overwhelmed, or when you're feeling nervous, or when you're just feeling off. It doesn't even have to be just overwhelmed, just when you're not quite feeling yourself. See if any of these will help. You know, you don't need to fix everything all at once. Just take the next small step forward. Even if that is just to the couch to be, you know, your best inner potato. But that's it for now. I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.